So just having that role have specific permissions for their duties that they need to complete their work makes it a little bit more organized and safe. Some questions that you can ask before granting permissions are the users unable to carry out their requirements of their job if they don't have access to that information? And another one is, what are all the possible permissions that could be assigned for each role? So if that's creating, reading only, or writing, updating or deleting files, just making sure that not everyone might need those permissions, so making sure the right ones are allocated to the right roles. And it's especially important for an EMR like Oscar. These would be good questions to ask a vendor if you're starting that conversation of wanting help with changing your roles and permissions. I will pass it on to Kat just to give a demo.
Awesome, thank you. Perfect. So mind me while I share my screen. If someone can gives me a thumbs up that you can see, thanks, Nicholas. So hi everyone, my name is Kat Goslin. I'm a health technology coach. And what that means is I support clinics across BC with their use of health technology, mostly around Oscar. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask in the Q&A, but also in general, you can reach out to our program and more than happy to sit with you on how to optimally use Oscar. So before we jump into the actual demo component, I just want to highlight that we are using an Oscar Pro sandbox. So what that means is this is a test environment. There's no actual patient data. It's all dummy data. But I do recognize that some of you may be using a different version of Oscar, for example, OpenOSP or Juno. So if there are any differences that come up, I'll do my best to note those differences. And if you do have any questions that I might not have the answer to in terms of the version differences, please feel free to still ask, and I can always take it away and find the answer for you at a later date, either via email. Okay, so with that being said and done, before we jump in, I'm pretty sure, you know, even if you've been using Oscar for a while, or if you're a new user, you may be familiar that Oscar is a little bit different compared to other EMRs with their roles and permission levels. They have two standard roles. So before we jump into the actual demo, I want to review these two standard roles that are applied. So first one, this is called the doctor role. And the doctor role is a role that provides standard access for users. So most of the time in Oscar, most users have the doctor role, which might seem counterintuitive. This is, I think, just a language that Oscar used when developing the system. So you can just think that the doctor role is a standard role type. Next is the admin role, which can be added on top of the doctor role for expanded permission levels. And these permission levels typically are for users that are editing system preferences, user management, security, etc. So we want to emphasize that only the users in your clinic that require administrative access should have an admin role as well. Next thing we want to touch about is the primary role. So when you are setting up a user in Oscar, you have to set a primary role. So it is recommended by OpenOSP as well as Oscar Pro that you set the primary role as doctor. So, and that's the case if your user has the admin and the doctor role both. Ensure to set the doctor role as the primary role if that user needs to see encounter records. This is a very interesting relationship, but for example, if a user had the admin and the doctor role, but the admin was set as a primary role, that user would not be able to see any encounter notes in the patient chart. So that might be what you want to do for that user, but in most cases, it is recommended to set doctor as primary role. Now, there is an opportunity for you to create new roles. Like Jeet had mentioned, Oscar is a little bit less user-friendly with that. So it is recommended to connect with your vendor if you want to create custom roles on top of the doctor and the admin role. Now, with that being said, if you're on Juno, Juno has developed a more user-friendly interface when creating custom roles. What I'm going to do, we're not going to go through this whole document, but what I will do is I'll paste this in the chat. These are the instructions that if you are in Juno, you can create a new role if you're using the Juno UI interface. So I'll paste this in the chat. Feel free to refer to it. But again, if you do have any questions about the roles and how it affects your users, do not hesitate to reach out to your Oscar service provider, Juno, for example, if you have any questions. What I really like about this document, though, is that when you scroll down, these here are called objects, which is like the different, like you will have to assign different objects to the new role, and then it explains what each object does, which is quite handy. So I'm going to go ahead now for our Juno users, if we have any, I'll paste this in the chat here. And here you go. So in terms of our doctor and admin role, in most cases, there are, I would say 75% of users that will still need to access the administration panel for some of the modules. So there is a way where in Oscar, you can add privileges to a certain user. So it's not necessarily creating a net new role type, but you're expanding the permission levels of a user. So right now, I'm logged in as a user who is just set as the doctor role type. As you can see, I do not have access to the administration panel. I have other accesses, so I can access the patient chart, the inbox, some of these reports, caseload, etc. However, if you want to provide this user access to the administration panel for reports, for example, report by templates, or for e-forms or e-form management, or for, let's say, measurements. So measurements is something that you can customize and create your own input group, for example. So to do that, a user who has administrative privileges would be able to add permission levels for this user. And that's what we're going to go through right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out of this user who's just a doctor role. I'm going to log into a role user who has administrative privileges. So now the administration panel shows up for me. And now I'm going to click on administration. In the main page here, you'll notice on the bottom right, there is assign role / rights to object.
Kat, we're not seeing that particular screen.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to back it up. Can you see my whole screen now? Awesome. So I clicked on administration.
Yeah, looks good now.
Thank you. And now the administration panel is up. And on the bottom right, there's a button that says assign role / rights to object. The other way to access this is if you expand system management, and then it's also right here, assign roles and rights to object. So I'm going to click here. When it pops up, it's not pretty. I'll give it that. It's not pretty. And it can look very overwhelming, and that's totally valid. And that's why in terms of creating new roles, this is pretty complicated. But to add permissions, this is a little bit easier in terms of steps involved. What I recommend to do is you could scroll down to the section that we need, but what I actually would recommend is use your keyboard and either do Control F or Command F. There's sections in here are called role dash. And so I think there's 3 sections that are called that. And we want the second or the third section. So we're going to go to this section. This section here, as you can see, you would have to scroll all the way down here. But in this section, what you can do is you can expand permission levels. So you can either do it by role type, which again, I discourage you to do if you want to modify a role type, connect with your vendor. However, if you want to add permissions to a specific user, this is where you would click the second drop down here. And then I'm going to click on our demo doctor. In terms of interpreting the objects, this is where, again, it might be a little bit more like complex or maybe a little bit of troubleshooting involved. If you'd like additional support with this, please do not hesitate to reach out to our program. A health tech coach could help troubleshoot this, or again, it's always a good option to reach out to your vendor. But for this demo, I'll show you the different modules that are probably most commonly used in the administration panel. So for demo doctor, what I would like for this user, for this use case, I'm assuming that this user is a RN. And this RN does not need access to the schedule management, user management, system management, but I would like this user to be able to run reports, support with eForm development, or upload eForms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll here, and these are all of the underscore admin dot are the administration objects. So I'm going to scroll until I find admin eForm, and I'm going to click on here, and then I want to say all rights. And then I'm going to click as well for this one, the report tool, and again, all rights. Now I'm going to keep scrolling because I would like this RN to also have the ability to create custom measurements or create a measurement input group. So I'm going to click all rights. And I'm going to keep scrolling. And I would like this one checked off as well. This is where you can have access to the report by template module and the other reporting modules. And then I'm going to do all rights. So now as a user that has the admin role privilege, I'm adding permissions for this specific user, our demo doctor. And now after I've done all of this, I'm going to scroll all the way down and I'm going to click add. Once it's added, you're going to have this very confusing success message at the very top, but you'll notice all of your changes were made here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of the administration panel. I'm going to log out, and then I'm going to pretend like I'm the RN now with the demo doctor role to show you how that affected the administration panel. So originally I didn't have the administration in my toolbar, but now I do. And when I open it, you'll notice that the administration panel has been scoped down. I only can access certain modules in here. You'll notice that user management still shows up. Don't be alarmed, because even if I were to try to add anything, it will say you tried to access a resource with insufficient privileges. However, now I still have access to the eForm library, so I can import, I can create an eForm from here. Reports, I still have access to the report by template module. Our library might look a little bit different than yours. And then system management, we only have certain amount of settings in here that I can do, customized measurements being the one that I selected. These ones I don't think I selected, so it's gonna, I think, yeah, the document settings is one that I did not set, so I don't have privileges. So those are the steps on how you can add permissions for a specific user using the doctor role. Again, we strongly recommend only providing the role types with doctor and admin to those users that require system management access. If users do not need system management access, we recommend using the doctor role and then add permissions as needed. Again, if you have any questions regarding these steps, please either contact our program area or your vendor support, or we can also go through some questions right now. Do we have any questions, Nicholas, in the Q&A?
So we have a couple that popped into the chat. So one thing, I think one you just answered, so it's with regards to the administration role, most doctors need admin access so they can fix or change billings. So as you kind of just mentioned, it's better to, instead of give them rights to like a whole bunch of different areas within the EMR, to just focus on the things that they actually need, right? So you can just add the particular ones. And then another question was just, what are the document settings? I think you just kind of touched upon that briefly, but
Oh, yes. Here, I can show you as an administrator what the document settings would look like. And so if I go to administration and then system management, document settings. I think there is one here where there's a pretty neat one, or is that under preferences? Yeah, so these are the document settings available. I thought there were a different type of document setting, but I think the one I'm thinking of is under preferences. So
perfect.
hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, so I guess maybe just one other thing we can maybe say is, if you're not sure like what things do, would you suggest maybe having a user account that you can test on so that you can log in and see what happens? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Kind of troubleshoot the different objects. And I know that could take time, and time is a commodity for you. So if you also want to shoot an email to your OSP or even health technology, we can help also do that troubleshooting on your behalf and be like, okay, if you want to access this, these are the objects to select. So.
Yeah. Perfect. Just a reminder, everyone, if we could use the Q&A box versus the chat, it's easier for us to keep track of all of the questions that come in. There's one more here. I don't know if we can answer this today. It's just, how do you manage access to the administration panel? This particular user is using the MPeer version of Oscar. The MPeer is their Oscar service provider, and it looks different from Oscar Pro. Don't know if we have the ability to show that, but maybe we can, if we do, we can always show that at the end. Or we might need to follow up with that.
Yeah. So just to clarify, the NPeer version, are you able to see under system management, assign roles and rights to objects? And if not, that's, I think, might be one of the nuanced versions of Oscar where you have to coordinate with your OSP.